The research ship Stellar Dawn moved slowly through space, its engines humming quietly. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the big front window. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings from the asteroid belt," said Amy Torres from her seat at the communications desk. She was young, with dark hair, and always spoke clearly. Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures? But they don't match anything in our database." "It looks like a ship, but it's not moving." Lisa Parker looked up from her engineering station. She was a smart woman who could fix anything on the ship. Could be a derelict vessel. Maybe pirates or smugglers. Dr. Sam Wright, the ship's doctor, pushed his glasses up his nose. "Or someone who needs help," he said quietly. Jake thought for a moment. They were out here to study rocks and minerals, not to rescue people. But he had been a ship captain for 20 years, and he knew the unwritten rules of space. "Was in trouble? You helped them." "Amy, can you get a better scan of that ship?" Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "It's badly damaged, Captain. Hull breaches in several places. Life support is failing." But ... double quotes. She paused and looked up at him. "How many?" "How many?" "2 adults and 1 smaller." "Signature. Maybe a child." Jake felt his stomach tighten. A family in trouble." He looked around at his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting for his decision. Lisa prepped the shuttle. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command about what we've found. Sam, get your medical kit ready. We're going to take a look." Dr. Wright nodded. "Are you sure about this, Captain? We don't know what's over there?" "It's exactly why we need to help them," Jake said. An hour later, Jake and his team were floating. In spacesuits next to the damaged alien ship, it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The hull was smooth and curved, almost like it had grown instead of being built. Strange symbols covered its surface, and some parts seemed to glow with a soft blue light. "The airlock is damaged," Lisa said through the radio. "But I can cut through the hole. The inside has air we can breathe." They entered the ship through Lisa's makeshift entrance. Inside, everything was quiet except for the hum of failing systems. The walls were covered in the same strange symbols, and soft lights pulsed along the ceiling. "This way," Amy said, following her scanner. "The life signs are coming from the center of the ship." They moved through corridors that seemed too big for humans. Everything was designed for creatures much taller than them. Jake noticed that the walls were warm to the touch, almost like they were alive. "Here," Dr. Wright said, stopping at a large door. "The life signs are just beyond this." Lisa worked on the door controls while Jake and the others waited. After a few minutes, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a large room with a high ceiling. In the center were 2 creatures lying on the floor. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with pale skin that seemed to glow slightly. Their arms were long and thin, and they had large eyes that were now closed forever. "They're dead," Dr. Wright said sadly after checking them. "But look over there." In the corner of the room was a small pod about the size of a human bed. Inside, something was moving. Jake approached carefully. In the pod was a creature that looked like a smaller version of the adults, but it was clearly very young. Its skin was almost transparent, and Jake could see strange patterns of light moving under it. The creature was about the size of a human toddler, but its features were completely alien. "It's alive," Dr. Wright said, scanning it with his medical equipment, "but barely. It's weak and getting weaker." The little creature opened its eyes and looked at Jake. Its eyes were huge and filled with an intelligence that seemed much older than its small body. It made a soft sound, almost like a baby. "Crying, we have to help it," Jake said without thinking. "Captain, we don't know anything about its biology," Dr. Wright said. "We could make things worse." "Then we learn," Jake said firmly. "Amy, can you access their computer systems? See if you can find medical information?" Amy nodded and began working on a strange control panel. Meanwhile, Lisa was looking at the pod the creature was in. "This looks like some kind of life support system," she said. "But it's failing. The power is almost gone." Jake made his decision. We take it back to our ship. Sam, can you keep it alive long enough to get it to our medical bay? Dr. Wright looked worried, but he nodded. I'll do my best. They carefully moved the small alien to their shuttle and then back to the stellar dawn. In the medical bay, Dr. Wright worked frantically to create a safe environment for the creature. Lisa built a new life support system using parts from the ship, while Amy tried to decode the alien computer files. The little alien was very sick. It wouldn't eat the food they offered, and its breathing was getting weaker. Jake sat beside it, watching its chest rise and fall slowly. Come on, little one, he whispered. Don't give up on us. The creature's eyes opened and looked at him. Then something amazing happened. It made the same soft sound Jake had been making, copying his voice perfectly. Did you hear that? Amy said excitedly. It's trying to communicate. Over the next few hours, the creature began to copy other sounds from the ship. The hum of the engines, the beep of the computers, even the voices of the crew members. Because of this, they decided to call it Echo. Dr. Wright finally found a combination of nutrients that Echo could digest. Lisa's life support system was working, giving Echo clean air and the right temperature. Amy discovered that the alien ship's computers contained medical information about Echo's species, called the Astari. Slowly, Echo began to get better. Its skin became brighter, its breathing stronger. And its eyes, those large, intelligent eyes, never left the humans who were working so hard to save it. I think it's going to make it, Dr. Wright said, after 3 days of constant care. Jake smiled and gently touched Echo's small hand. The alien's fingers wrapped around his finger, just like a human baby would do. Welcome to the universe, Echo, Jake said softly. You're safe now. But as Jake spoke those words, he had no idea that saving this small alien would change everything. He didn't know that Echo was the last of an ancient royal bloodline, or that powerful enemies were already hunting for it. He only knew that they had found a helpless child and done what humans always do when they find someone in need. They helped. 3 months had passed since Echo joined the crew of the Stellar Dawn. The small alien had grown quickly. Now standing almost 4 feet tall, its pale skin had become stronger and brighter, and the strange patterns of light under its skin moved. Faster now, Echo had learned to walk around the ship following the crew members everywhere. It especially liked to stay close to Jake Morrison, who had been the first person it saw when it opened its eyes. The alien could now speak a few words. In English, though, its voice sounded like music. Dr. Sam Wright was amazed by how fast Echo was learning. It's incredible, he told Jake one morning. Yesterday, I showed it how the medical scanner works, and today it fixed a broken one all by itself. It's smart, Jake agreed, watching Echo play with Amy Torres at the communications station. Alien was copying the sounds the computers made, creating beautiful melodies. Lisa Parker had noticed something else strange. Captain, ever since Echo came aboard, our ship has been running better than ever. Systems that used to break down are working perfectly. The engines are more efficient. It's like the ship is healing itself. Jake nodded. He had noticed it too. But he didn't understand how it was happening. Echo seemed happy living with the humans. It ate the same food they did now, and it had learned to laugh when Lisa told jokes. But sometimes Jake caught it staring out at the stars with a sad look. In its big eyes, as if it was remembering something. The peaceful time ended suddenly on a Tuesday morning. Amy was at her station when her equipment started screaming with alarms. Captain, there's a huge ship dropping out of hyperspace, she said, her voice tight with fear. It's 10 times bigger than us. Jake rushed to the bridge and looked at the main screen. A massive dark ship hung in space near them, was covered in weapons, and had a design that looked built for war. Red lights pulsed along its hull like angry eyes. Are they trying to communicate? Jake asked. Amy nodded, her hands shaking. Yes. Sir, they're demanding we respond immediately. Put them through. The main screen changed to show a creature that made Jake's blood run cold. It was tall and thin, with gray skin and small black eyes. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, and when it spoke, its voice was harsh and cruel. The human vessel. I am Commander Vex Kalos, of the Zephyrian Empire. You will immediately surrender the Astari spawn you are hiding, or we will destroy your ship. Stepped forward, trying to look braver than he felt. I'm Captain Morrison. We don't know what you're talking about. Kalos laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Do not lie to me, human. I have been tracking the energy signature of the young Astari for months. Hand it over now, and we might let you live. Even if we had what you're looking for, we wouldn't. Give anyone to you, Jake said firmly. Behind him, Echo had come onto the bridge. Small alien looked at the screen and made a sound of fear. It seemed to recognize the Zephyrian. Kalos saw Echo and his black eyes lit up with hunger. There it is. It's the last of the royal bloodline. You have no idea what power you are protecting. Humans. We know it's a child, Jake said angrily. Enough for us. A child. Kalos laughed again. That creature could grow to destroy entire worlds. The Astari were a plague upon the galaxy. We have spent decades hunting them to extinction. This one will not escape. The communication ended. And immediately the stellar dawn shook as weapons fire hit their shields. Shields at 80%, Lisa called out. But Captain, their weapons are much more powerful than ours. Can't fight them. More weapons fire hit them. The lights flickered, and Jake could hear systems failing throughout the ship. They were going to die, and there was nothing he could do about it. Echo suddenly stepped forward. The small alien looked up at Jake with its large eyes, and Jake could see determination there. Echo, get to the safe room, Jake said. But Echo shook its head. It walked to the center of the bridge and closed its eyes.
Ow.
The patterns of light under its skin began to glow, brighter and brighter. What's it doing? Amy asked. The ship shook again. As more weapons hit them, the shields were almost gone. But then something incredible happened. A bright blue light surrounded the stellar dawn, and the next Zephyrian attack simply bounced off it. Echo was floating a few inches off the floor, its arms spread wide. The light was coming from its body, creating a protective barrier around the entire ship. Impossible, they heard Kalos scream over the radio. It's too young to have that much power. Echo opened its eyes, and now they were glowing with the same blue light. It looked at the main screen where the Zephyrian ship was trying to fire more weapons, but nothing was working. Their targeting systems were failing, and their engines were shutting down. The small alien raised one hand toward the screen. On the Zephyrian ship, explosions began to appear as their weapon systems overloaded. Kalos and his crew ran around in panic as their own technology turned against them. This isn't over, humans, Kalos screamed before his communication cut out. The Empire will find you again. The massive Zephyrian ship suddenly disappeared, jumping into hyperspace to escape. Echo slowly floated back down to the floor. The blue light faded, and the small alien collapsed. Jake caught it before it hit the ground. Echo, are you okay? The alien looked up at him and smiled weakly. Then something happened that Jake would never forget. He felt a warm feeling in his mind, like Echo was touching his thoughts. He could sense the alien's emotions, gratitude, love, and a fierce determination to protect the humans who had saved it. Amy gasped. I can feel it too. It's in my head, but it doesn't hurt. Me too, Dr. Wright said wonderingly. That's like it's saying thank you. Lisa was checking her instruments. Captain, all our systems are running perfectly now. Better than new. Whatever Echo did, it didn't just protect us. It made us stronger. Jake held the small alien close, feeling the strange mental connection growing stronger. Echo had risked its life to save them, just as they had risked theirs. To save it 3 months ago, you protected us, Jake whispered to Echo. Echo looked up at him with those big, intelligent eyes and spoke in its musical voice. Family, it said clearly. Echo protect family. Jake felt tears in his eyes. This small alien, orphaned and alone in the universe, had chosen them as its family. And now he understood that Echo would do anything to keep them safe. As the stellar dawn continued through space, Jake didn't know that the bond Echo had created would last forever. He didn't know that the small alien had linked its life force to theirs, or that this connection would soon be tested in ways he couldn't imagine. All he knew was that they had saved a child, and now that child had saved them back. 6 months later, the stellar dawn had returned to human space. They were now docked at Haven Point, a large space station that orbited Earth. Echo had grown even more, now standing almost 5 feet tall. The young alien had learned to speak English very well and loved reading human books. Dr. Catherine Hayes was the station's top alien expert. She had been studying Echo for weeks, trying to understand how the young Astari had created the mental bond with Jake's crew. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen," she told Jake as they watched Echo play chess with Amy Torres. "The bond isn't just mental. It's connected to life force itself. Echo has linked its existence to yours." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means Echo will always know when you're in danger, no matter how far away you are. And it will do anything to protect you." Jake watched Echo move a chess piece and smile when Amy laughed. The alien had become part of their family. He called Jake Papa Jake and had learned all of their names. But sometimes Jake worried about what Dr. Hayes was telling him. Is it dangerous for Echo? Dr. Hayes looked serious. "I don't know. Astari were very advanced, but we know so little about them. What I do know is that Echo cares about you more than its own life." That same day, Jake received terrible news. His wife Karen and his twin daughters Emma and Sophie were traveling on a passenger ship called the New Horizon. The ship was taking them to visit Jake at the station, but the ship had been attacked by pirates somewhere near the Saturn system. Jake's hands shook as he read the emergency message. 300 passengers taken hostage. Pirates demanding ransom. No military ships close enough to help. Amy put her hand on his shoulder. "Captain, we'll find a way to help them." But Jake knew the truth. The New Horizon was too far away. Even if they left right now, it would take days to reach them. The pirates might hurt the passengers before. Then, they might hurt Karen and the girls. Echo had been reading a book in the corner, but suddenly it looked up. Its large eyes were glowing softly, and it tilted its head like it was listening to something far away. "Papa Jake's sad," Echo said. Walking over to him, Jake tried to smile, but he couldn't hide his fear. "My family is in trouble, Echo. Bad people have them, and I can't help them." Echo's eyes began to glow brighter. "Echo help. Echo protect family. You can't, little one. They're too far away." But Echo closed its eyes and stood very still. Patterns of light under its skin began to move faster and faster. Dr. Hayes watched with amazement as energy readings from Echo jumped higher than she had ever seen. "What's it doing?" Jake asked. "I think it's reaching out," Dr. Hayes whispered, "across space itself." Far away on the passenger ship New Horizon, Karen Morrison held her daughters close. The pirates had locked all the passengers in the main dining hall. Their leader, a cruel man named Rex Hogan, walked back and forth with a big gun in his hands. "Your families better pay up quick," Hogan shouted at the frightened passengers, "or some of you won't be going home." Mem and Sophie were only 7 years old, and they were very scared. Karen tried to comfort them, but she was frightened too. "Mommy, I want Daddy," Sophie whispered. "I know, baby. Daddy would come if he could." Suddenly, a soft blue light appeared in the center of the room. The light grew brighter and took the shape of a small figure. It was Echo, but not really there. It was like a ghost, made of light. The pirates stared in shock. Some of them dropped their weapons. "What is that thing?" Hogan screamed. Echo's light form looked around the room until it saw Karen and the girls. It smiled and walked over to them, passing right through the tables and chairs. "Don't be afraid," Echo said in its musical voice. Papa Jake sent Echo too. Help! Karen's eyes went wide. She had heard about Echo from Jake's messages, but seeing the alien was incredible. Echo turned to face the pirates. Its light form grew brighter and more solid. Let family go, it said firmly. Hogan laughed and pointed his gun at Echo. You're not even real. You can't hurt us. He pulled the trigger, but the gun wouldn't fire. He tried again and again, but nothing happened. Around the room, all the other pirates found that their weapons had stopped working. Echo raised one small hand, and all the pirates' guns flew out of their hands and stuck to the ceiling. Then Echo pointed at Hogan, and the pirate leader found himself frozen in place, unable to move. Echo, protect family, the alien said. Always protect family. One by one, Echo made all the pirates freeze like statues. Then it unlocked all the doors on the ship and turned the communication systems back on so the passengers could call for help. Before Echo's light form faded away, it knelt down next to Emma and Sophie. Tell Papa Jake that Echo keeps promise, it said gently. Family always safe. The light disappeared, and Echo was gone. Back on Haven Point, Echo collapsed to the floor. Jake caught the young alien before it fell. Echo, what did you do? Echo looked up at him with tired but happy eyes. Saved family. Karen safe. Emma safe. Sophie safe. Bad people can't hurt them now. Jake felt tears running down his face. Through their bond, he could sense that Echo was telling the truth. His family was safe. Dr. Hayes was looking at her instruments with amazement. The energy Echo just used should have been impossible. It projected its consciousness across thousands of miles of space and manipulated matter on another ship. Amy was listening to her radio. Captain, I'm getting a message from the New Horizon. The passengers are all safe. The pirates have been captured. They're saying a glowing alien child saved everyone. Jake hugged Echo tightly. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for saving them. Family help Echo. Echo help family, the young. Alien said simply, is what family does. Jake realized that Echo didn't see what it had done as anything special. To the young Astari, protecting the people it loved was just natural. The bond they shared meant that Echo's family extended beyond. Just the crew of the Stellar Dawn, it included everyone they cared about. Dr. Hayes watched them with wonder. I'm beginning to understand, she said quietly. Echo doesn't just have power, it has something much rarer. It has perfect love. As Jake held the tired alien close, he knew that their lives had changed forever.
Echo
had shown that the bond between them was stronger than distance, stronger than danger. The young Astari would always be there to protect them, no matter what. But Jake also knew that such power would attract attention. Other enemies would come looking for Echo. And next time, they might be ready for what the young alien could do. 2 years had passed since Echo saved Jake's family from the pirates. Elda, the young Astari, was now 8 feet tall and very powerful. Its pale skin glowed with inner light, and its large eyes seemed to see things that humans could not. Echo lived on Haven Point Station, but it spent most of its time with Jake and his original crew. The peace they had enjoyed was about to end. Dr. Catherine Hayes was working late in her lab when the first emergency signals came in. Her computer screen filled with urgent messages from human colonies in the outer systems. All stations, this is New Geneva Colony, came a panicked voice over the radio. We are under attack by unknown alien ships. They're destroying everything. We need help immediately. More voices joined the first one. Copper Ridge Colony to any Earth ships. Massive alien fleet attacking. Our defenses are gone. They're taking prisoners. Freedom Point Colony reporting. Enemy ships everywhere. They're not trying to negotiate. They're just killing everyone. Doctor Hayes ran to find Jake, who was in the station's command center with Admiral Patricia Stone, the head of Earth's Space Defense Forces. It's the Zephyrians, Admiral Stone said grimly as she looked at the battle reports. Commander Kalos has returned, but now he's a Supreme Admiral with hundreds of ships. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. How many ships do we have to fight them? About 300, the Admiral replied. But their technology is much better than ours. We're going to lose. Echo had been quiet in the corner, but now had stepped forward. The alien's eyes were glowing brighter than Jake had ever seen. Zephyrians want Echo, it said in its musical voice. Echo, go to them. Stop war.
No.
Jake said firmly. We won't let them have you. Too many humans die because of Echo, the alien said sadly. Is Echo's fault? Dr. Hayes checked her instruments and gasped. Echo, your power readings are off the charts. What's happening to you? Echo looked at each of them with its large, wise eyes. Echo growing up. A starry power is getting stronger, but using them will hurt Echo. What do you mean? Jake asked. A starry royal bloodline? Very powerful, Echo explained. But power burns life force. Use too much, and Echo dies. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the chest. Then you can't use your powers. We'll find another way. But Echo shook its head. No other way, Papa Jake? Zephyrian's too strong. Only Echo can stop them. Over the next few hours, the reports got worse. 3 human colonies had fallen completely. Thousands of people were dead or captured as slaves. The Zephyrian fleet was moving toward Earth's solar system. Admiral Stone gathered all available Earth defense ships to make a stand near Mars. But everyone knew it wasn't enough. Echo made its decision. While the humans were planning their hopeless battle, the young alien went to a quiet room and sat down to meditate. It was time to awaken the full power of its bloodline, even if it meant dying. As Echo concentrated, strange things began to happen. The lights on Haven Point Station flickered. The metal walls hummed with energy. In his quarters, Jake suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Followed by visions, he saw ancient cities floating in space, populated by tall, glowing beings. He saw the Astari at the height of their civilization, when they could create planets and move stars. He saw them as rulers of a vast empire that stretched across the galaxy. Amy Torres was in her room when the visions hit her too. She saw Astari, scientists working with forces that could bend reality itself. She saw them create life from nothing and travel between dimensions. Dr. Sam Wright and Lisa Parker experienced the same visions. They were seeing Echo's genetic memories, the history of its people stored in its very cells. But the most important vision was the last one. They saw Echo's parents fleeing the destruction of the last Astari world. They saw that Echo was not just any Astari child. It was the last member of the royal family, heir to powers that could reshape the universe. Jake ran through the station corridors, following the mental connection he shared with Echo. He found the young alien in the meditation room, floating 3 feet off the floor. Echo's body was surrounded by swirling energy that made the air itself glow. Echo, stop, Jake called out. This will kill you. Echo opened its eyes, and they were now pure white light. When it spoke, its voice echoed with the power of its ancestors. Papa. Jake, Echo must choose. Let humans die, or use power to save them. Is the easy choice. There has to be another way. No other way, Echo said sadly. But Echo not afraid. Learned from humans that family worth any sacrifice. The energy around Echo grew brighter and brighter. Dr. Hayes arrived with her instruments and watched in amazement. As readings climbed beyond anything she had ever recorded, the transformation is complete, she whispered. Echo has become what it was always meant to be. Outside, the Zephyrian fleet had entered Earth's solar system. Supreme Admiral Kalos stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the pathetic human defense force gathering near Mars. Destroy them all, he ordered. His captains, but leave the planet intact. I want the Astari spawn to see its adopted home burning before I kill it. The battle began badly for the humans. Zephyrian weapons tore through their ships like paper. Admiral Stone's flagship was badly damaged in the first few minutes. It looked like humanity's end had come. Then Echo arrived. The young Astari no longer needed a ship. It flew through space inside a shell of pure energy, moving faster than any vessel ever built. Echo had become something beyond physical form, a being of living light and power. Jake watched from Haven Point Station as Echo engaged the entire Zephyrian fleet alone. What he saw was impossible to believe. Echo moved between enemy ships, disabling them with touches of its energy. It created gravitational fields that crushed entire squadrons. It turned the Zephyrians' own weapons against them. But Jake could also feel through their bond that each use of power was burning Echo's life away. The young alien was dying to save them all. Supreme Admiral Kalos screamed orders at his fleet. But nothing worked against Echo's power. In desperation, he activated a secret weapon, something designed specifically to kill Astari. The quantum disruptor beam hit Echo directly. The young alien's energy form flickered and began to fade. Jake felt Echo's pain through their bond. He whispered, "Please, no." Echo turned toward Earth one last time, its form growing dim. But instead of giving up, it made one final choice. With the last of its strength, Echo sent all the knowledge of the Astari civilization directly into human computers. Advanced science, medical cures, star travel technology, and weapons that could defend Earth forever, all of it flowed from Echo's dying mind into human databases. Then Echo did something beautiful and impossible. Instead of dying, it transformed its remaining consciousness into pure energy and wrapped itself around Earth like a protective blanket. The young alien had become humanity's eternal guardian, watching over them from the sky itself. The Zephyrian fleet, faced with both advanced human technology and Echo's supernatural protection, retreated in defeat. Jake looked up at the aurora that now danced in Earth's sky every night, knowing that Echo was still there, still protecting them, still keeping its promise to always guard its family. The Battle of Earth was the largest space fight in human history. Over 300 Earth defense ships faced the massive Zephyrian invasion fleet in the darkness between Mars and Earth. Admiral Patricia Stone commanded the human forces from her flagship Terra's Sword, while Supreme Admiral Kalos led the enemy from his huge warship Divine Wrath. At first, the battle went very badly for humanity. The Zephyrian ships were bigger and stronger. Their weapons cut through human shields like they were made of paper. Earth's brave pilots fought hard, but they were losing badly. Jake Morrison watched the battle from Haven Point Station with tears in his eyes. He could see human ships exploding on the view screen. Good people were dying, and there was nothing he could do to help them. Then Echo arrived at the battlefield. The young Astari no longer looked like the small alien they had rescued years ago. Echo had become a being of pure energy, flying through space in a shell of brilliant light. It moved between the enemy ships faster than anything Jake had ever seen. What happened next was like watching a miracle. Echo reached out with invisible force and grabbed an entire squadron of Zephyrian ships. The enemy vessels crumpled like tin cans in a giant's fist. Other Zephyrian ships tried to shoot Echo. Their weapons passed right through the energy form. Echo created a wave of power that swept across the battlefield. Enemy ships spun out of control as their systems failed. Some Zephyrian vessels simply stopped working completely, floating dead in space. "Impossible," Admiral Stone whispered as she watched from her bridge. "One being is defeating an entire fleet." But Jake could feel through their special bond that Echo was in terrible pain. Using so much power was burning the young alien's life away like a candle in a strong wind. Supreme Admiral Kalos was screaming orders on his flagship. "All ships focus fire on the Astari. Use the quantum disruptor." The Divine Wrath turned toward Echo and fired a special weapon, a beam of energy designed to kill Astari. The weapon had taken the Zephyrians years to build. It was their secret advantage against Echo's people. The quantum disruptor beam hit Echo directly. The young alien's bright form flickered like a dying light bulb. Jake felt Echo's agony through their bond and cried out, "Echo, no. Please, don't leave us." Echo's energy form grew dimmer and dimmer. But instead of giving up, the young alien turned toward Earth one last time. With the very last of its strength, Echo did something incredible. All the knowledge of the ancient Astari civilization flowed from Echo's mind into human computers. Advanced physics that could let humans travel between stars in minutes. Medical knowledge that could cure any disease. Technology for building cities in space and turning dead planets into gardens in seconds. Humanity received the scientific wisdom of a race that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, but Echo wasn't finished. As its physical form began to fade away completely, the young alien made one final choice. Instead of dying, Echo transformed what was left of its consciousness into pure energy and spread it around Earth like a protective blanket. The quantum disruptor beam that should have killed Echo instead helped it become something new. The young alien became a guardian spirit, surrounding Earth and all human colonies with invisible protection. When the Zephyrian ships tried to attack Earth again, their weapons couldn't penetrate Echo's energy field. Their targeting systems stopped working. Their engines began to fail. Retreat. Kalos screamed at his fleet. Retreat immediately. The massive Zephyrian invasion force turned and fled back into deep space. Defeated by the sacrifice of one small alien who had learned the meaning of love from humans, Jake stood at the window of Haven Point Station, looking down at Earth. The planet was surrounded by a beautiful aurora that danced across the sky in all colors. It was Echo, still there, still protecting them. Dr. Catherine Hayes ran her instruments over and over, but the readings were clear. Echo's consciousness has merged with Earth's magnetic field. It's become a permanent guardian. As long as Earth exists, Echo will be watching over humanity. Years passed. The knowledge Echo had given them changed everything for humans. They built faster ships and traveled to distant stars. They cured diseases that had killed millions. They created new worlds where families could live in peace. Jake Morrison was now an old man with gray hair and wrinkled hands. Amy Torres, Lisa Parker, and Dr. Sam Wright were all elderly too. But they still felt the warm connection to Echo in their minds. Every year on the anniversary of Echo's sacrifice, they met in the memorial gardens on Earth. They would sit together and look up at the aurora that painted the night sky in brilliant colors. "Do you think Echo knows how much we miss it?" Amy asked one evening. As if answering her question, the aurora grew brighter and seemed to pulse with a familiar rhythm. Jake smiled as he felt a gentle touch in his mind, the same warm feeling he had experienced when Echo was small. "Echo knows," Jake said softly. "It's still here with us." The bond they shared had never broken. Even though Echo had transformed into pure energy, it still cared for the humans who had saved its life when it was just a helpless infant. Jake's granddaughter, Emma, ran up to him. She was 7 years old, the same age her mother had been when Echo saved her from the pirates. "Grandpa Jake, why does the sky dance every night?" Jake picked up the little girl and held her close. "Because someone who loved us very much is still watching over us, making sure we're safe. Will they always be there?" "Always," Jake promised. "Love like that never dies." As if Echo heard him, the aurora grew even brighter, wrapping around the Earth like a gentle hug. In space stations around other worlds, human families looked up and saw the same beautiful lights. Echo's protection had spread to cover all of humanity. Wherever they traveled among the stars, the Zephyrian Empire never recovered from their defeat. Other alien races learned that humans had a powerful guardian, and they chose to become friends instead of enemies. Echo's sacrifice had not only saved humanity, but had brought peace to an entire section of the galaxy. Jake held his granddaughter and watched the dancing lights in the sky. It saved a baby alien out of simple kindness, never knowing that one act of compassion would change the destiny of their entire species. Echo had kept its promise. It protected them for life, and that life would now last forever among the stars. The young alien had learned from humans that family was the most important thing in the universe. And now, Echo made sure that the human family would always be safe, watched over by a guardian whose love was as endless as the space between worlds and the dancing aurora above. Echo smiled and continued its eternal watch, forever grateful to the people who had taught it that sometimes the greatest power in the universe is simply caring about someone who needs help.